This conference will now be recorded.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, the April 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Southwood Parks and Recreation District is called to order at 6:01 p.m. Is there anyone for public comment?
I was expecting someone regarding the lakes. But he's done.
Oh, right. Perhaps he'll join us later.
Yeah.
The approval of the minutes will be delayed until next month, which is just fine. There's no problem. So Matt, if you are ready, we will move on to the treasurer's report.
I am. Okay, I want to jump to the overall chart. Yeah, I see the chart data in the window. I don't, if you could flip to the overall tab.
Next, overall, one more time.
There we go. Okay, thank you. So this is the overall summary. Similar, there you go. Similar to last month, net favorable to the tune of roughly 54K in the overall. So tracking on the forecast plan. If you go to the revenue, you'll see we're slightly behind in revenue, just 6K or thereabouts. And you can see it's levy. Trying to make it up in programs, but can't quite. So 6K, but that's within tolerance, and that should come back in May. And then expenses, you can see the 60K favorable. There you go. So more than controlling relative to the revenue shortfall, and the revenue shortfall will make itself up here in May for sure. If you go to the next, the fund balances, you'll see fund balances are on plan. There we go. On plan, and you can see that recovery of the M&O fund coming up from February into March per the budget plan. Any questions on the Treasury report charts? Okay, if none, then we'll move on to the vouchers. If you can pull the vouchers up on the screen.
I do have one
Oh, go ahead.
question, not in relation to the charts, or I just want reassurance. So, and you kind of mentioned it with getting the M&O back on track, but I guess my question is, is Island County back on track with their?
We're still, let's see, I think we're still overall less than where we were last year at this time. And we should be ahead because of our increased levy. So it is expected that it will catch up probably this month because everybody's due. So, yeah. So we've been holding off on some expenses, so that's why expenditures are down to make sure that we have enough.
Thank you.
Okay, if no further questions, you can pull up the vouchers.
I don't want that.
Okay, so the changes over the version that was provided earlier for you, we updated payroll, a bill for King Water for water management, a bill for Kitsap Tractor for repair parts for a vehicle, and the invoice for modern canine nose or canine training, and retirement contributions, payroll taxes. That is it.
And are you able to share them in the screen?
Are we able to what?
Share it on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, are you not seeing it, Matt?
No, we're still seeing the fund balances chart.
Just need to change which application.
Just a small question, but lock set install for the concession stand, did something happen?
So what it is going to be a keypad entry instead of, better access. You can change it as needed rather than counting on keys.
I was just like, did somebody try to break in and that's why, okay.
Yeah, and Little League, I believe it was, donated the keypad,
Yeah.
but it's ours.
That's wonderful.
No, if you can scroll
Can you-
down just a little bit so you can see those two parts right now.
Okay. Okay, any other questions on the vouchers?
So I
Okay.
see we're paying ARC, but I guess we'll talk about that later on when we get to comprehensive plans.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
yeah, we can touch on that now. It's appropriate. We, at last check, we were working on a scope change with the legislature to release our funds from 2022. And that scope change was approved, and that allowed Department of Commerce to draft a contract between the state and the district. And that draft has now been nominally approved by both parties and is going through review. So once that's signed by Commerce and by our board chair, then we will be able to submit those invoices for payment.
So this one was one that we had for a while, and we held, knowing we could pay it, I guess, net 30, 90 days or something like that.
Right.
But in order to pay it on time, we have to get it, with the mail and our process of vouchers, we had to do it now to get it ready.
Okay. Thank you both for explaining that.
And sorry, one more. There's another one now for, but there's another one now for this past month. That we'll hold on to.
Yeah, and remember that total budget that we can invoice against is 388,000 total.
Any further questions?
I have no further questions. I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers for $88,312.82 from M&O and $2,363 from the property fund.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the vouchers for a total of $88,312.82 from the M&O and $2,363 from the property fund. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, I.
Krista, aye.
Jake, I.
Matt, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the vouchers are approved. Moving on to the staff report, please, Carrie.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just see shit, yeah, from.
Good shit. Oh, programs, yeah, I wrote that. It was all blur. The activity guide was released, so it is everywhere right now. Swimming registration opens to the general public April 27th, opens tomorrow, the 20th, for Useless Bay Club members. I got a pickleball skill building for beginners that begins at the beginning of May. We're working with multiple pickleball groups to develop a schedule for indoor and outdoor play throughout the summer. People have made lots of requests for indoor play in the summertime, and we're adding adult drop-in basketball. We haven't had it for a while. That'd be June 3rd at the community center gym, if everything goes to plan and they have it open.
Initial response to the activity guide, now that we're kind of 2 weeks into distribution?
Lots of calls.
Lots of calls, lots, all the, like, yeah, all the salient stuff filled up, lickety split. That pickleball for skill builders also did, but it seems like everything.
So, Tom didn't have a report, but these are some photos that he shared of work done over at Deer Lake. It seems to be completed, and they were able to do paving, which they hadn't at one point thought they were going to have the funds available, but they were able to scare that up. And yeah, there it is.
Is the plan to stripe where that truck is at all, or just leave it as is?
They have striped it.
Oh, they have?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I can say I can say I used it and it is fantastic.
Just in time for fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, we had been, as you're aware, warning the public about an aggressive owl or two. There were about 10, 12, nationwide articles about it, which was interesting because only a couple of reporters actually reached out to us. But we were starting to debate, well, we hadn't heard anything in a couple of weeks. Should we go ahead and take down the signs or no? And then Austin was swooped down on, and that was Friday. And so people do call periodically. It was hard to say if things weren't being reported because people were going with our wishes and not being out there or protecting themselves in such a way that they were not attracted to the owl. But so we are just kind of assuming that there's still a situation. And when I called Fish and Wildlife initially, they said it could be a few months that the activity would go on. So
Was Austin in a cart, or was he just?
he's getting out of his car.
He was unlocking the gate to the maintenance building in the morning, and the owl was just sitting right there staring at him. And so when he was trying to unlock it, came at him, we did it off, and he had to run back into his car. And the owl just sat there waiting for him, staring him down for a while.
And the owl had been watching the various activities going on, such as the topographical survey and kind of.
So it actually was a performance security system.
That's
for the
true.
maintenance department.
That's
Yeah.
true. Let's get
Most
that
people,
first batch.
most people think it was a barred owl,
Yeah.
if they.
Yes,
they
but
were
then,
indicted.
someone disagreed, so I don't know. Yeah, I see it myself, so. That's it. Oh, yeah.
It's not. It's fun.
But it's.
Yeah.
It happens.
Other than that, we have a board meeting next month, and it's just another picture.
All right. Moving on to the committee reports. Do any committees have any reports to submit?
So we were just going to comment strongly that no report is an adequate report, so I'll just go down the committee, or you can go down the committee list. And then if there's a report, there can be one, and if not, you can say no report or something like that. Does that make sense?
Sure. Right. Governmental Parks Group,
No report.
interlocal committee.
I would say that I'm trying to set up an appointment to begin maybe talks about support of bond, our bond, school bond, and soften relationships with the district. Trying that now.
Comp plan programs.
Well, we're gonna discuss comp plan programs later on in the agenda.
Okay, campground.
You have the most recent.
Yeah, the most recent update.
Well, we had a meeting. That was kind of, we had a meeting.
We had a meeting on Monday.
Yeah, that was
And-
exciting.
First meeting in, I think, both of our tenure here. And it was good for me. I'll speak for myself. It was great to talk to Tom, Carrie, Krista. We all had some positives and some concerns as a whole. And Krista's been corresponding with Brent Ryan of the county quite a bit. And I have this last week. It sounds like the land use permit is right around the corner to being issued to us. So it's my understanding that we could potentially bring some equipment on that rough skidder road if we so desired. Let's see, what else did, the septic design is complete.
Well, there's the survey, the survey, would that be the right terminology, is complete?
I don't know. I actually asked.
Survey or site registration?
The water,
Oh, the perk.
the perks and
Okay,
the
site
water.
registration purpose, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, that part's done.
that, yeah.
That
I
part's,
believe
yeah,
it's
thank you.
complete. I wasn't sure if there was some loose ends that needed to be tied up with that.
Okay, so now we're into the design phase.
Yes, I guess so. But the concern is that we do have money that we need to use up by the end of the year. One of our questions was, what can that be used on? And can we use it, for example, to hire a project manager to now go forward with this? There is no project plan that exists, really. And then another one of our questions was, okay, let's say, so for example, if we cannot get the site registration and the go-ahead from the county to even just begin a phase one, could we, do some advanced work, like bring in gravel that can be put on the road, perhaps work on a gate that would, install a gate that would be used later. So kind of, work around the project, understanding that we don't have a full plan, but there are things that we can identify at this point that would be beneficial to moving that project going forward. And, again, can we go forward with those few things? And my interpretation was no, from what Brent responded. Like, we kind of need them to sign off on us starting, to even
They need that land use permit.
Yeah.
So she made it sound like it should be here soon,
Yes,
but not a specific date.
yes, yes.
So could we even, I understand from the grant perspective, we could, but from that perspective, could we stockpile the gravel? Could we, buy a date?
Well, if, are we just talking regular gravel or are we talking gravel with binder? Because if we're talking gravel with binder, we don't want to stockpile that because we'll lose all the binder.
And it also would have to be delivered to the site. Which
Where Tom would prefer
yeah, which
Because I
again,
mean, right, so isn't our first thing just that, the one loop, and so wouldn't it make sense to do the skidder work and then just have the gravel come and have it delivered on the loop for spreading?
what would be your interpretation?
to get in there and actually do site work, we need the land use permit.
Okay.
I think we hypothetically, if we bought gravel and didn't bring it in dump truck through that area, I don't know that we'd want to put it somewhere else, but I think, hypothetically, you could buy something if you are going to the proposed campground. But that sounds like it would be quite a bit of a pain.
That's a lot of extra work.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a good idea either.
Yeah.
But it is, yeah, imminent was definitely, the idea.
Is the intent to use the funds by the end of the year? Is that why we're talking about this in terms of rolling, not just to further the project along, but what is the funding we're talking about?
So we're trying to use up, there's, what was that, 200,000-ish left of a grant. So we spend 400,000, we get 200,000 back, in simple terms. And we have, that's gonna be a little difficult in that that fund only has under 200,000. So we would have to spend it, get reimbursed, spend it, get, so timing wise, we're definitely under the gun. I think it was by August, we need to request again another extension on our grant. I'm hoping that if we can show progress, good faith, then maybe, I don't know.
From the last email, quote, I believe we are pretty close to issuing the land use permit. Once the SEPA document revision is in, which I think it's pretty much done, changes to the site plan, done, and the public health stuff, which is submitting that perk test stuff to health, we will be able to issue the land use permit. So again, from what I can tell, we've checked those boxes. And then, quote, we are not able to authorize work prior to the permit being completed. However, I believe we are much closer to getting the permit issued.
So, excuse me, I know I sent you guys the SEPA update. Did you
Yeah.
guys send that to him?
Not yet. I figured we want to do this.
Okay,
Instead of sending one thing, like,
I think that's.
he has this checklist. I want to do it all in one email and be like, here are the 3 things that you asked for. I think it's getting the part that's a little trickier is the public health part, getting the perk, getting that, which just came in to, I think her name is Patty. Yes.
We have the contact in public health
Right.
office.
That was, yeah, that's the Patty Schultz of Public Health, who has written one of the letters that we were reviewing in that meeting. So she should be familiar with this project. So, yeah. So that's as of yesterday.
We just saw that on Monday.
Yeah.
But
So,
Can I ask a quick question if you guys can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
So Christy, you said there's not a plan. Don't we have something like a plan from the consultant, J.A. Brennan, like the layout? And I thought there was some information that they
Hey,
had
Matt,
done.
hold on one
Hang on
second.
1 second, we gotta mess around with the volume.
But it might
Okay,
be
sorry.
Okay, that's
Now
better.
we can hear.
Okay, so,
Okay,
I'm sorry, Matt, we have a hard time hearing you. Would you start
no,
again, please?
no problem. Sure. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the question was the comment about the plan, Christy, that you made. Don't we have something from the consultant, J.A. Brennan, in terms of we have the layout and we had some budget and I thought a timeline of events or something like that that was part of their consulting work and the fees that we paid them?
I don't think we went,
We had a preliminary plan. It didn't have, it would need to be updated from what I understand based on what they found with the perk holes. I haven't dug into every single thing that they provided. I asked them to send it over recently because I couldn't find it in my files. So I haven't dug through it all. The one thing that was Tom and I were looking for was kind of a cross section of the road and, you know, what layers and how deep that was supposed to be. We weren't able to find that, but I'll be requesting that. I don't remember if there was a timeline. I didn't see that. That doesn't mean it wasn't there. I didn't look at every document that there was a
Yeah, so
timeline or.
yeah, I think because you were talking about hiring a project manager, my own suggestion would be that we re-engage formally with J.A. Brennan and I mean get them back to the table and say, okay, we're ready to move forward. We need to resurrect what you guys did and figure out, is there a role for them? I can't even remember, and I don't know what their capabilities are, but could they run the project in the same way that ARC is going to run the project for the aquatic center, or is that not inside their, capabilities, and but they would recommend somebody or what? Because I mean, they were involved to a decent level of detail, and we spent a decent amount of money on them. I would hope we would have something to
great,
go.
okay. Okay, so we will, we'll reach back out to them and, look for that timeline again, look for those documents and, do that. Thank you, Matt. That was very helpful.
And
Sure.
it sounds like we can use a project manager towards the matching grant funds, what we pay them. If we were to hire a project manager, right?
Yes, that was my understanding. Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, whatever expense we do, we'll get most likely half of it back,
So, okay.
depending within the items that they say are eligible for it. Which everything that we asked was eligible. Right?
Yes, it was. So, okay.
Yeah, and I would just think that they would offer a lot of bang for the buck. I remember they had just done a campsite down in like southern Washington, southern along I-5 somewhere, Kalama or someplace along there, and I thought they had been the project manager for that project, but I can't remember. It's been a while, and Doug was doing a lot of the negotiating with them, so I can't remember, but I think there's potential anyway.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you, Matt.
Who's doing the actual design for the system, David? Oh,
We need to put that out to bid. The quote we had was for 30 some, if I'm talking about the right item. They provided a quote for, is it the septic?
Mhm.
It was 35,000, 30 something thousand. Okay, I need to go
and
out.
so putting that out to bid, how far out does that go? Is it local folks? Is it county folks? Does it go?
That we put it out to bid?
Yes.
I think probably it would be sent to MRSC rosters, like if whatever list they have that applies to that, and then we would also send it to people that we know of if they weren't on there, that are local.
Okay, because right now, it's taking 3 to 6 months to get a design through the health department, and we don't have that kind of time. So I don't know what we could do to encourage local folks to apply for this, that we can get someone to hand walk it through for us.
Jake, did you ask about, is this part really necessary for us to move forward? Since it's not a part of the phase. What?
Phase 1 is dry camp.
We have to go back to public health.
And it's been that.
We would have to get the land use permit to do anything.
Remember, there was that paragraph in that letter about, we understand that this would not be required for phase 1 and that we have a plan for bringing in alternate, like a trailer or something like that. That letter was written by the Patty Schultz that we need to get the perk test to. So, which is why I wanted a digital copy of that letter so that maybe we could submit that along with the perk test and say, okay, like this, we've done this, but you also confirmed this. Is that good enough for now?
Right, do we need to do
Right.
this whole design?
Right.
Because
Exactly.
it would be, I mean, we need to do it, but
So like,
not right now,
Yeah.
maybe not with these funds.
we're trying to get started without necessarily needing a septic.
Got it. Okay. Anything else?
Is that all of it?
I think that was basically all.
All right. Did we lose Matt? No, he's there. Oh, okay. Maintenance and capital projects.
Can you remind who's on that subcommittee?
Go committee assignment, please. Go to January. To committee assignments. Last year. Did we just stay the same with all of our
We did.
stuff?
Yeah.
No, okay, so Jake, that would be you and
We're on
me,
that.
so, yeah, no report, okay. Amphitheater,
Same.
no work, so, budget, capital budget,
That'll come up in the comprehensive.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about it now or then.
all right, sports field, Eric and Matt,
Well, yeah, I can make that update. So the latest update from the state is we are still awaiting the results of the WWRP for the RCO grants for this cycle. We had requested youth athletic facilities and WWRP local parks grants for this project in grant for grant match. And neither one of those, has grant programs has yielded results yet. We've gotten indications that we are right at the cut line. Either below.
Matt, can I interrupt you? Can you,
Yeah.
can you just speak louder? I don't know where I can't hear you, mostly
Sure.
it's really soft.
Oh, now we can hear you.
Now we can hear you.
much better.
That's great.
Okay, sorry. So we had applied for 2 grants for this in a grant for grant match, the Youth Athletic Facilities grant and the WWRP Local Parks grant with Washington State RCO. Neither one of those has been adjudicated yet, but we've gotten indications from the state that we are right at the cut line. maybe below, but right at the cut line in any case. And there's been some inquiries as to how, from the state to us, as to how we would react if we got one of the grants and not the other, meaning we would have to provide matching funds from some other source in order to receive the grant proceeds. So in this case, the smaller grant fund, the smaller grant program is Youth Athletic Facilities, which was a $250,000 grant request. And the larger program was WWRP Local Parks, which was a $500,000 grant request. In order to receive those funds, we would need essentially two things. If we got one and not the other, we need to match the amount in total. So dollar for dollar, we have to match. The state calls it a 50% match, but they're not straight on the math. It's 100% match of the granted amount. And then we would also need to certify the funds available for the full project. So if we got the Youth Athletic Facilities grant, it is my suspicion that we will not be able to, in the term of time that we would have to act, which is nominally 6 months, but they can extend it out to 9 months or a year. It would be difficult for us to get the rest of the total funding required to go forward with that project. And that total funding is in the neighborhood of three to 3.5 million. So we don't know the results of either one of the grant programs yet, but that when those results are published, we will have to come back to this question and this decision. And if we are not able to meet the criteria, then those funds just go and roll down to the next project, one step lower in the ranking order after us. So it's going to be a similar situation for pickleball. And since it's not a subcommittee, we can mention that at the same time. Same story with pickleball, except in the case of pickleball, it's a much smaller project cost, or, it's roughly the cost of the grant plus the match. So in the case of pickleball, if we got the $250,000 grant from Youth Athletic Facilities, we could come up with a plan to match that amount. 10% of the project needs to come from non-public sources. So that would be through district equipment time, personnel time, materials, that sort of thing. And then $200,000 we would have to come up with to match. If we were able to come up with that, then we could receive the full grant proceeds because that would pay for the project in total. So I think we're going to face two decisions. We're going to have to, the easier one, just from a financial standpoint, is going to be pickleball. And we'll need to figure out in the budget between now and the end of the year, and with public fundraising and capital commitments from private sources potentially, can we come up with the 200,000? And then if so, we can turn the switch on and we can launch that project. And on the turf field, I think if that happens in the same sequence, it'll be a tougher financial decision because the funds needed to complete the project will take more work.
Matt, the soccer association reached out. I know you responded and I responded as well. Was that an amount that would be doable for part of that matching ability?
Yes. Yeah, so good point. So there's a new grant called the COAF grant. I can't remember what it stands for, Athletic Facilities, but it's a new RCO administered grant program. And they were seeking $42 million total in the 2023 state capital budget. And we were told we are on the list to be included in that grant program announcement because they still hadn't figured out. They got this, they got some private money and have been scrambling to figure out how to administer this grant. It's a brand new grant and RCO wants to administer it. They need to come up with a board. This is out of cycle. So they're trying to work on the nuts and bolts of it. But yes, they know we want to apply. We have the materials already to apply. and we just don't know the terms of it. We don't know how much.
Yeah, I guess that was my bigger question is it amount, to make any difference or is it lesser? But it sounds like that's still subject to,
Still
okay,
subject to their decisions, but it could be, it could be a sizable amount. It could be, in some of these programs, they don't have a limit. Like some of the programs that are administered through Commerce or Department of Commerce, they don't establish a limit. You just justify, if your justification is strong enough, they'll fund the project. So I think more to come there, but they know that we want to use that grant program and intend to apply. And they understand it's on the list of potential match sources and project funding sources for the turf field.
Great.
Yep. So, our grant manager at RCO indicated that information would be forthcoming at the conclusion of the legislative session. So soon, like we're going to hear something in the next, probably 4 or 6 weeks at the outside. And then we'll be able to hopefully turn around, use the application we already submitted to RCO with hopefully relatively minor changes, and be able to submit that for consideration in that grant program.
One challenge with what he was talking about earlier with that saying we get one but not the matching grant, we have to certify by May 9th that we have the matches. So that's the a tricky part right there.
Yeah, and the double trick with that is that the matches in the certification have to match what we put in the application that we loaded in the state system, which is called PRISM, back when that cycle opened. So it's a relatively straightforward process. We know what we put in those, but neither when we submit that, it's right now we don't have the information from the state yet to know if either one of those or both or neither, was awarded to us. So it's relatively straightforward. We just are going to list what we already listed in the application, but there's no information beyond that on whether we're saying we certify that our match will come from WWRP local parks if it is awarded to us. But that's all we can say. So unless they release the budget and release those grant program results between now and then. So between now and then, if that happens, then we'll have that. Then we'll come to those decision points. So right now, we're just filling in the blanks based on what we already applied, what we already put in our applications. So.
They said those decisions would be made in their June meeting.
That's a cart and horse thing.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah,
comes up with these processes?
They just want us to be ready to go so they don't have to keep going down the list.
Yeah, the trick is the uncertain timing on the state capital budget release. So that governs everything. They can't cascade any of these programs down until they know what their budget number is for each. And so everybody waits until that is released and concluded. And right now, from what we heard a week ago, it was in the Senate Ways and Means Committee. It had cleared the House and was Capital Budget Committee and was in the Senate Ways and Means Committee. And then we have not heard any updates since then. That was about 10 days ago.
All right, lake properties.
So from what I've seen, so yeah, they did the asphalt down at Deer Lake. They did the striping. It looks terrific. The dock is a pleasure to walk on and test out, and yeah, the place looks great.
it's awesome.
And not that it's under our purview, but the fish have been stocked.
And,
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. So, let's see, Lone Lake did not look any different. Just Lone Lake. And, yeah, we were expecting a guest, and it's a bit of a shame that they were not here. And then Goss Lake, I think that Fish and Wildlife were there as well, because the usual end of the season crater line that runs down through the ramp has been filled in. So I think they've been there to fill that in.
I'm sorry, where?
Did they gravel the whole thing all the way down?
Yeah.
Chris.
So, I mean, they'll, it has to be done every year, but it looks like they've done it already this year. So, and there's the usual graffiti on the trees. I did not check the restrooms, but, we take care of that. So I was really just looking for other changes from Fish and Wildlife. So so it's an observation report for the lakes. Also, a community member approached me regarding installing a better permanent bench at Goth Lake. So last year, people got together, they put in a bench and somebody stole it. Someone has donated another kind of bench, but I guess according to the community member, it's a little on the shaky side, it's a little rickety. They would really like something just a little more substantial and permanent there. There are a lot of people who use that lake in the winter. There are a lot of older people who use it, and they would very much like a sturdier bench. At Garth, yes.
Could be a really good investment, being there. That, I know what we're talking about, and I know but it seems like just not necessarily even wood, but maybe a composite bench in concrete. It wouldn't take that much space and it would get its use. All the reasons you just stated.
Yeah, they said like the one that is at Lone Lake, which is a very simple design. It's a really basic bench, but it has, instead of 4 posts, it has 2 and kind of zigzag. So it's very aerodynamic, small scale, very simple, but solid and secure. So,
I think the trick would just be anchoring it and don't
Yes.
get mess with it.
Yeah. And so hey Tom, and I mentioned this, I think, last month to you, Matt, about possible, I was approached for Rotary projects. And I think a bench would be a fantastic Rotary project. So I am going to pitch that to Would-Be West Side. That's my lake.
Yes.
Yeah,
I read it.
Does one of us want to say something about what he is?
sure, let me see if I can find that email really quickly. So, no, sorry. It was with Lone Lake, correct? Am I remembering
It
correctly?
was.
Yeah.
That water there.
Okay, so, somebody by the name of Tom Langley called regarding the Lone Lake, algae management plan. Details you may already be aware of. A group has secured $50,000 to develop an algae management plan for Lone Lake. This plan was published in 2020. The plan estimates that remediation of the algae would cost about $300,000. Plan to use the management plan to secure funds and grants to clean it up. Turns out the state does not have any funds or grants for that. This group has determined that the only way to do this is with private funds. They are planning to start a private funding mechanism to clean up the lake. So basically they're making a 501c3. This gentleman, quote, would like to address the board at public comment during a regular meeting And the crux of his public comment will be that he's just checking to see if any public organizations, such as ourselves, have any objection to them taking that action of starting a 501c3 for fundraising. And Carrie did make him aware of the Parks and Aquatics Foundation. It also occurred to me later on that I was a little surprised that they figured out that there were no funds or grants for something like that.
They said that they were surprised by that, and it sounded like there were several other funding for getting the plans together for algae remediation like this. And they were out there also looking for funds because there's no state funding. And they seem to have the impression when they were doing it, and as well as these other organizations that were going through the process of applying for funds for the plans, they also seem to be under the impression that there was going to be some other venue for getting funding, state funding for the cleanup. But
You think how big that is? I mean, nationwide, trying to get an EPA involved funding for algae, that's gonna be a tough one as, climate change.
Yeah,
it's a big problem more and more, yeah.
So, and they're asking whether or not we have any problem with that. I don't know that we have an opinion because that's the Department of Fish and Wildlife, right? I mean, we don't have a say.
Our big thing is with our agreement is we don't do anything with water.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with us. We're basically glorified janitors.
I think he was just basically making sure he wasn't going to be stepping on any toes.
Okay.
I've
So
heard about this group for the last 4 or 5 years. If it's the same guy, he recently moved close to the lake. It sounded like he used to do something in this realm.
Okay.
And so he's kind of spearheaded with some of the other local people that live around the lake that have been asking the state of the county to do something about this. So it sounds like they're just finally kind of getting organized and heading down the road.
well,
This,
and can you, for as far as the lake water goes, State Department of Ecology is the water manager. So anything that they would do would have to go through a permitting process with state DOE, not Fish and Wildlife. And it's specifically, they have a specific permit process for algae control, like saying which types of substances you can use, which you can't use, and other details of application procedures and that kind of stuff. So we should refer them to state DOE.
okay. So I wonder about the ILIO. They might be aware of some other possible grants, funds, another way to tackle this. So I can send them a note as well.
what's the organization?
The ILIO, it's the Island County Interlocal. Yeah, it's people from Island County, Department of Natural Resources mostly. Although somebody from Public Health also sits on that committee, and also organizations like the MRC and Saltwater Stewards. It's mostly about restoration of our shorelines and ecosystem. But it does also, there is some overlap with just quality of life and water issues and water management, and even forestry. So they can be a little far reaching. So again, I can see if anybody, and one of the people on the committee, their job used to be to monitor the lake water around the island. So he in particular might be able to point us in a good direction.
Anything further? All right, trails, we're gonna cover Trustland in new business. I don't have anything. Do you, Matt, for trails?
Oh, I have a question. Do we know when the sign is going in for?
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask Carrie. Carrie, have you heard any update from the county?
we haven't received the permit yet.
And they had told us it could be up to 16 weeks, 16 weeks.
Matt, we can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah, this county had told us about 4
No,
weeks ago.
but we'll do that on Trustland Trails.
Could be up to 16 weeks. So
16?
16 weeks.
We probably need to do a nudge again anyways. Just because they thought it was gonna be faster, because.
Sign.
Yep, it's a
Okay.
building. It's essentially it's a building permit, and
Mhm.
you should be able to kind of short circuit the process because you're not actually constructing a habitable structure. But she said worst case it could take just as long as a regular building permit, which is 16 weeks at current.
Okay. Last committee would be swimming pool. And I'm assuming we'll cover that under the comp plan. So we shall
Sure.
move on to unfinished business. Comprehensive plan update, or comprehensive plan program, South Whidbey Aquatic Recreation Center.
So Matt, I'll do the report card that I have on the Aquatic Center and then you can fill in. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great.
Okay. So the topographical survey is underway. I don't have any results of that yet. The JACC committee and several folks with the ARC team met to review several designs to discuss possibilities for the aquatic center. And they were really great. It was a good brainstorming session of seeing possibilities and what do you like about this design over here and what do you not like. And so they are going to take that back, start creating documents or get closer to that. The designs include a gym in a second phase, and staff would love to see the gym move to the initial phase based on our current need and demand. And it also has come up with other groups here and there as well that are providing feedback that we don't want to blow up the cost of the project, but it's definitely a need, and leave it at that for now. Unless.
And we're paying $2,000 a month, right?
We're paying $2,000 a month right now
Uh-huh.
for a gym that has 12 different leaks and no heat.
To the school, or
To the school district sends us the invoice, and that's who the check goes to.
That's the gym above the old cafeteria.
Yeah.
Yeah, the multi-purpose gym. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, just order of magnitude from a planning standpoint, just order of magnitude.
Matt, louder, please.
Sorry, sorry, can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Okay, so just order of magnitude, we do not have this costed. It's not been included in any of the estimates, but just from a order of magnitude standpoint, we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 7 million additional to extend the building to cover that, include that portion. Just ballpark number.
You said 5 to 7?
Yep, 5 to 7, based on the square footage of what we've considered.
So ARC is working on including the hydrology work with the geotechnical survey. So originally it was going to be a separate item later on down the road, but there was some efficiency found to just combine it with the geotechnical survey. There has been some delay on the survey work, but they were hoping to get that started a while ago due to some insurance requirements between ARC and the contractor that they're selecting for that work. So I do have an amendment that is in front of you to the work. So this is provided that they are able to get where they need to be with insurance requirements, which is, they're working for it. So it adds it to the geotechnical, which was added to the other work, the other design work. So you can approve that and we can sign it, but it won't be official until ARC gets their parts worked out.
Gary, hadn't we in that previous meeting approved the hydrology as a scope change?
We sort of, yes, you had. As far as I believe, if I remember correctly, you had said up to X amount through schematic design. And this is just more specific.
Yeah, well, I thought we had specifically mentioned the geotech, the topology, and the hydrology. Did we?
You did, but it didn't have a dollar figure with it yet.
It was based on this equation, but not the specific dollar figure.
Okay, so, but I wouldn't consider it a scope change. I wouldn't think the amendment would need to be, I wouldn't think we would need a new amendment if we're not changing the scope, just assigning a dollar figure and approving the dollar figure, perhaps.
Yeah, there's a dollar figure there.
Yeah, I don't have the original amendment in front of me, so I can't, do you have the original amendment that you could pull up?
I think this is just the amendment is not to our motion.
It's not to change the motion.
It's not an amendment to the motion. This is just a amendment to the contract.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Okay.
So we signed off the amendment to the contract the last time, and what I'm remembering is that we included
this was not included in that amendment.
It was not.
No.
Okay.
So there was a broad stroke approval of future specifics.
Well, but
It's not
So
This is you saying, yeah, I'm okay, I've got to revise the contract.
Carrie, could you pull up that amendment? Because when we made the motion for it, it was not a broad stroke. It was the geotechnical report and the topology or topography report, and I thought the hydrology report specifically included in the ARC scope. So I don't remember the broad brush you're talking about.
The hydrology was postponed till later. Right here. Okay, Jennifer has it in front of her.
Okay. So what's
So the amendment that we approved last month was Harmson LLC for a topo and Palmer Geotechnical for a geotechnical survey. Compensation adjustment. Yeah, there's nothing on here for hydrology. It's geotechnical. This one is specifically for stormwater infiltration. The other was for a survey.
Got it. Okay. So
Does that help, Matt?
Oh, yeah, that's perfect. So now the new
Okay.
amendment includes hydrology. Is that what's proposed?
This is for a stormwater infiltration exploration in the form of test pits to the original scope, which was originally defined as part of Amendment 001, which is what we approved last month.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you for
Okay?
clarifying.
All right. You're welcome.
So are we ready to make a motion on that amendment?
So we would need clarity and specificity on the amendment number and a
Should be amendment 002, I would think.
correct. Sounds correctly.
So the motion needs to be something like, a motion to amend the professional service agreement in amendment number 002 to Palmer Geotechnical Consultants in the amount of $3,960 to add stormwater infiltration exploration to their contract.
Does that match what's in the?
So this is the amendment to the contract with ARC.
Okay. So
Do you have that to pull up on the screen?
He said you have that on the screen.
Oh, okay, so if you go to our website,
we're getting there soon.
do you,
Got it.
Oh, then you don't have anything.
I, yeah.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Don't do that to
Can
yourself.
we just say amendment 001?
That's what I say. 002.
I realized that.
Oh, sorry.
I'm saying, talking about last week, that we're amending it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's.
Okay. Shall I read what you said last month?
Yes, please, because that would be helpful that we
Okay.
could follow that patterning, I think.
Okay, last month you said, Matt made a motion to make ARC architects responsible for okay, required, I'm sorry, this is the wrong spot. Matt, you might have been right.
Say again?
You may have been correct about what we authorized. We said up to 10,000 something. But, a motion to make ARC architects responsible for required hydrology surveys associated with the schematic design phase of the Aquatic Wellness Center, not to exceed 12,500 pending final review by legal resources.
Hey, I'm not totally.
And yeah, stormwater infiltration would be included in.
Yeah, that's what that
I
is.
guess.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Okay, but this amendment from last month doesn't agree with that.
No, so it still needs an amendment. Carrie,
That was the wrong one. That was not the geotechnical.
yeah, it's a future state. So we've already approved it. All we need to approve is the amendment itself, because we still need the amendment.
We need to prove this.
Okay, we're not made a motion to approve document. There's a document number on that.
Yep.
Whatever it is, amendment to professional services agreement number 001 with ARC.
So we can make a motion to approve document number G 802-2017, which is an amendment to the professional services agreement with ARC Architects. It's amendment number 002 with ARC Architects in the amount of $3,960. Is that the motion?
I second that motion.
And nice.
See that, Chris?
Do I have to say it again?
Piecemealing the specificity from the first motion.
So just.
Yeah. But I'm not
To
saying
this?
any of that, I'm just saying to that.
Okay.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to approve document number G802-2017, amendment to the professional services agreement with ARC Architects. Their amendment number 002 to Palmer Geotechnical Consultants in the amount of $3,960.
And I think the agreement is with ARC Architects now.
I did say with ARC
With
Architects.
ARC to be paid to Palmer Geotechnical Consultants.
So,
But they don't.
They also need to correct the amendment spelling mistake on the final document.
I think just saying that it's the agreement with ARC Architects.
And just
Or
work Palmer on it.
subcontractors or something like that.
All right, so it has been moved and seconded to approve document number G802-2017, amendment to the professional services agreement with ARC Architects for amendment number 002 in the amount of $3,960. Period, not question mark. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, I.
Jake, aye.
Matt, aye. Sorry. Matt, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Are you good, Carrie?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Carrie, for working through that. Apologize for that additional stress.
No.
That was not.
No, thanks for making sure we're on track. That's why we're here. Okay. Campground, okay, sorry.
If Matt had anything more to add to the aquatic center or Eric.
No, just that the next meeting is planned for, I think, the 2nd of May. So we should see an update that gives us a better idea of what this thing's going to look like on the 2nd of May. And if we're able to narrow down on the things that we think are critical, then they'll do an elevation for the first time and we'll be able to see a building. So we're not far from being able to see a conceptual rendering of a building.
Yeah, I thought it was a good blend of ideas and people sharing, their perspective and interests, pitfalls of certain designs, as well as things, aha kind of moments. One in particular, I think Rich brought up was, cold pools are becoming very popular. He said, why don't we try an indoor cold shower instead of the expense of like a cold dip, which would meet the needs of a lot of people currently, contemporary health kind of thing. Talked about vision issues with the pool, meaning people being able to look in but still have an exterior view. A lot of things you just don't think about. And I told Matt and Carrie and other people, the eye opener for me was I got to walk around a Rainier Beach pool for about 2 hours before they closed. And a person disclosed all the likes and dislikes in a very poignant way. So for me, that was a big eye opener. But I think the process is really going well. I think ARC does a good job of listening. That's all I got, Matt.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Eric.
I have something related to an aquatic center, but not ours. Some people from the Methow Valley reached out to me. They're evidently trying to start this process. And they would like to talk with somebody. And Matt, I suggest you. Did
Yeah,
somebody named
Yep, they sent me an
Ken
email.
Malik reach out to you?
Yep, they sent me an email and I bounced back to them and we still haven't actually connected on the phone, but
Okay,
that'll happen. Yeah, so they've
because
exchanged that.
they circled back around to me and they said they had not yet heard from you. And I just said, look, we've had a lot going on, and including you, like as a district, we've had a lot going on, and that you've been very busy, and I'm sure that you would get in touch with them. But anyway, I do have their contact information, and
Yep, I've got it. I've got his cell phone number.
okay, thank you.
Matt and Carrie, I'd also add the naming of the facility. I think that's a big one that people want to hear about, discussions around that. I can speak to it, but you can as well.
Either of you.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so, well, we bounced around a lot of different names with the thought of history on the island, meaning if you put recreational center or equipment or gym, people go, you already got a gym. There was one of the big pitfalls last time around at Bull Bond. So how do you describe the facility in a way that attracts a myriad of voters, intergenerational, without offending someone, without stepping on toes? And so I think Matt did a good job of collecting all the possibilities. We contacted Jim Nelson, and Jim, he shared his thoughts about what he's seen in all the different bonds and the kind of naming and what works well. Matt, you can share the results if you like. I read where we were at I believe last night.
Yeah, if you want, I can share the detail. In the end, the consent, and I took inputs from the other commissioners. We took inputs from the foundation, the aquatic joint aquatic committee, and they all settled on the same name as the top rank. Didn't matter how we cut it, how we organized it, and subdivided it. Everybody came.
Hey, Matt, I think your fingers are covering the microphone.
No, it's just curled up around me. Can you
Now
hear
we
that?
can hear you. Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, so all of the inputs all rank the same name as the top ranking, whether it was us as a board individually, whether it was the committee, whether it was the foundation or others. And that name was formerly, we've been referring to it as the South Whidbey Aquatic Wellness Center. And that has now been substituted out for the South Whidbey Aquatic Recreation Center. So that's the name that we will use going forward during this point in the project. If it ends up getting named to something else later on, like associated with a particular donor or some source of capital or some other reason we decide we want to name it after somebody or something, that's not prejudiced by this, but a name to call it during the bond campaign and during the rest of the schematic design and those kinds of outward facing communications. That name that everybody ranked as number one in total was South Whidbey Aquatic Recreation Center.
I think a big part of that was community center we already have. We didn't want any confusion there. Wellness sounded kind of clinical, and I'm just recapping. And then recreation was added because Park and Rec is in this building. If you were trying to identify where Park and Rec is, it would be nice to have recreation in there at some level. And it might attract certain voters who maybe aren't swimmers, but are appreciative of park and recreation. So that was a quick synopsis of how that came about.
So just to so the South would be Aquatic Recreation Center, aquatic and?
No, just recreation.
All right, we've already covered campground, grant application funding.
I did, right?
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah, we did.
I think we've mostly covered that topic earlier.
All right, then we shall move on to the bond ballot measure.
So, I didn't have anything really to report other than I was making space for us to discuss it. Signing duties or decisions like throwing in Jim into the plan.
Yeah, I think the thing that we need to do with priority on the district side is to put the factual information that we have on the bond on outward facing things with the district, particularly our website. So we need to figure out how to create a page for the project so that voters can seek and find information, factual information on the bond measure, and we need to do that. That needs to be our number one priority, with everything else a distant second, in my opinion.
I would recommend finding a easy to remember URL to purchase that can then just direct to it on our website. Because that's a lot easier for people to see something where it's a memorable URL, be it, you know, southwoodbepool.org or something like that. South Woodby Pool Bond, something, but at least that way they can easily get to it.
Sure. Okay. Eric and I can bring that back to our committee discussion. I think that's a good topic for us to think about. Look at some other projects, see what they did. What about just the time bandwidth to get that page created? Do we need to find external? We talked last month about external source for doing website work in WordPress. Is that something we need to do to get this done?
It didn't seem like that was going anywhere. So if someone were to create the copy for that, the text for it, I think we could fairly easily between us through our website make a page. If somebody's willing to pull together the information that we would put on it.
And I think we got over this hump, but the object being, if I remember correctly, from where we were legally, with the pictures being used, like diagrams and potentials, it doesn't, as long as we're not paying for that part of it, we can still use what we have. I bring that up because it's schematic design. We're to a point now, we're starting to see some cool stuff, and that's gonna sell us. And the sooner we get that out, the better.
Yeah, that is something that I was gonna follow up with Pacifica Law Group about, yeah, whether we can use the output of that grant work to, in the voter information and or in a vote yes or vote no campaign. Not us doing it, but can those works, those designs be used for that purpose?
But it seems like the even worst case scenario, foundation then could use funds, so we wouldn't step on any legality codes that way, right? The foundation could do that if we needed to say this was actually purchased for, the purposes of putting on the bond measure for advertising, marketing. At least that's the way I see it, that we have it out there. And I don't think it's gonna be an issue anyway, because how do people build things?
Right.
If the school district's gonna run a bond, you
Show
have
some
to show,
pictures.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
that's ridiculous to think.
Well, if nothing else, someone could do a public records request for that information that is public
Right.
property now and use it for everything.
Yeah, and again, back to the question of us loading information on our website is for factual information, it's, I think, certainly permissible. So that shouldn't slow us down. And I think if you're talking about, if you're saying, Carrie and Sky, that we have the bandwidth to
create the website structure and we just need the information, then I would say Eric and I'll take that on. I'll volunteer you, Eric, to help. We'll take that
Yeah,
on.
we'll sure.
Yeah,
Jim Nelson to help us because Jim Nelson has the numbers, that are that are a big part of that. So we'll recruit Jim and Eric and I will take on the content creation and then hand that off to the staff. If that sounds acceptable?
yeah.
Okay.
And alongside that, is there also going to be someone who will use that same information to create like a fact sheet or something like that?
I think, yeah, which is Krista and I will
Yep,
take
we
care of that.
volunteered for that, yep.
Okay, so are you guys going to synchronize your information somehow? Because it's
Yes.
going to be the same information, correct?
Yeah, so
Yeah, it needs to be.
we'll let you, so start on that to what Matt said. First thing is getting it on our website and just creating a website for this, that I think the foundation can take care of. Because
The
they can
foundation-
say,
Sorry, Chris, I was going to
right,
say.
they can say things in a different way than we can, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So I would think it's in the best interest of the foundation to either create a page as part of their website or to follow Sky's advice of just purchasing a one-time URL just for this year bond vote, and just doing it that way. But yes, we do the information, just the factual information on the parks website, because people are gonna be looking to us for, again, what we're going to be going out with, right?
Yes.
So not to push this too, so you're going to need information such as 27 million, right?
Right.
And what that looks like
Right,
to a user.
yes,
So
different house values,
Yeah.
this is out over what amount of time, and
So again, I would just like to, I don't know if it's too late in the game, but and it's not just my opinion, it's not just these guys' opinion, we're hearing it from other places, how much they would like to see the gym be a part of this, which would of course raise the ticket there.
It doesn't just raise the ticket, it changes the venue. It changes the opinion of certain people. And I'm pro gym. I'm your biggest fan when it comes to that. I get it. And that's why I said I'm trying really hard to impress South Philly School District that it would be quite advantageous to be a good share of gymnasiums and equipment and, so I think putting a gym into the picture is getting us right back to where we were years ago with the pool bond. And you're gonna have a lot of animosity, especially with discontent in how gyms are being managed now. So you've got people paying, you've got people saying, why don't we have open basketball gym? Why don't we have rec leagues in the gyms? Why can't I use this? And if you throw that into the mix, even though I understand it's a wonderful idea, and I think it's extremely valuable, I would keep it in the long range picture until the pool bond. The pool bond, you could explain that this is part of the long range plan, and it's pro pickleball, it's pro basketball, it's pro youth activities, it's generational, and on and on and on, all the benefits of that gym. But I think putting it into the mix right now would be detrimental. That's my own personal opinion. So there, other people can weigh in if you feel any differently.
By voter opinion.
By voter
Like
opinion.
as far as
Yeah,
their general
not my
attitude.
personal opinion.
No, but their attitude and perception
Correct.
towards
Yeah,
the project.
I just think we're setting ourselves up for the same debacle we were in last time.
So being part of the school bond, when that fails, are they going right back out in November?
I would assume.
Are you
I
guys
don't have,
gonna,
I don't have an affirmative.
are you guys gonna want to compete with that in November?
Well, I think you cross that bridge when we get there, but
Well, we're gonna know real soon.
I understand.
I mean, maybe I just deal with a different group of people, but everyone that I know, vote no. People are tired of taxes. Just what I hear in my circles. I mean, the first look I ever got the other day at the pool and gym is phase two. And I look at the footprint and I look at this much of it, $27 million. And I look at the gym space for another couple $1 million. That's a no-brainer. I started $27 million for this, 30 for that. It's your chances. That's
Yeah,
my 2 cents.
it's a different perspective than I have, and part of it's the history of what we were with the pool last time. So, yeah,
And I
that
know
may be
last
the
time it
case.
got bigger and bigger and
Yep.
bigger, and that's gonna
Yep.
sink the ship.
You have a foundation that's been working extremely hard for so long to try and get this off the ground, and that's disconnected from the gymnasium. I see the value in the gymnasium, but man, I would just hate to see a lot of the work that's been done for the pool go by the wayside because we try to bite off more than we can chew.
But it's tunnel vision. It's a group,
I don't
very
think
small
so,
group.
because I
that's
think it's long
very,
range vision.
very tunnel vision for one thing. Not
Correct.
for what everybody needs. Youth of this place can't get in gyms. We need
Well, the gyms are there. The gyms need to be opened up.
can't get in them.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just, once again,
Uh,
anyways. So, anybody else want to chime in? Feel free. I've spoken then.
Yeah, I mean, and I think my personal opinion is similar. I mean, I understand it would be ideal to have our own gym space, indoor space that we control. That's why it's in the comp plan. So the comp plan says we want to do this, and it's part of the level of service determination in the comp plan based on availability of those other indoor spaces. So it's appropriately in the comp plan. What we said, the middle ground to address what you're talking about, Eric, is we said, okay, we don't think we want to include it in this bond measure for the reasons that Eric described, but we want to make sure that it can be accommodated on this site. So we included it in the design requirements for ARC to make sure that this space is considered and can fit, and there's a vision for where it's going to go, so it doesn't look like when it gets added on, it doesn't look like it's bolted on. It looks like it was going to be part of the building in the first place. So that's the middle ground that we have taken so far. But again, it's in the comp plan, so we have said as a district that it's something that we target to achieve. And so I think that's a fine line we got to walk, because as Eric said, it could be the thing that causes somebody to say no. It could be the differentiator, for certain people. I think it's worth us asking ARC to give us a formal opinion on the cost. I was estimating 5 to 7 million based on the square footage. Um, we can ask them for a pencil sharpened, what's the minimum we could spend to include it, and see what they come back with. I think that's a reasonable thing to ask from them. It's not going to cost us much to get that data, and I think it would be useful for this.
Is the septic for the aquatic center going to be built over capacity for
Yes.
future
Yep.
expansion?
Okay. Yep. Yeah, it's sized for the, I think it's 5,000 gallons a day. It's sized for the both usages together.
survey.
And sorry, and the other thing
Say
that
again?
I think that surveying people, again, is a good idea, because if I remember right, the original survey that went out, I got questions, asking a piece about the rec center, but I don't know what the answer is, but I know there's lots of individuals that for 7 months a year want a place to be able to be indoors, doing some exercises. Uh, And I don't know if that question's ever been asked. Large enough group to know.
To me, it seems like one of those things, Sky, as we sit here and talk about this and varied opinions, that we revisit the comp plan, much like we did with pickleball. Pickleball was not part of the comp plan. I think it was a wise move to add it to the comp plan because of the insane popularity of it. So same thing with the gym, that as our comp plan evolves, maybe that's what we start to talk about that and say, hey, this is a priority for all the reasons you stated. I'm in total agreement.
Well, and part of the updating of our comp plan process in the past was a needs assessment. So it would be logical that, in the coming months, we would be doing something like that, which is more broad. It's not focused on the pool or, it's one of the factors that we'd be looking at. But I would assume, we would do something like that as part of this update process.
They're closing one school next year. That's gonna free up a little bit more gym space. It's another gym that's been reinvented. If you've seen that gym, now you can do things in there that you couldn't do before. So in the bigger picture, once again, it would be really great timing with a new director coming in to get cooperative relationship with South Liberty School District to use facilities unilaterally. That would be really a great thing. And I think the timing is just right. So that it's a possibility in the big picture. I'm not saying that's going to pan out, but if there was any better time, this is the time to do it.
How are you planning on working on that goal of
My
improving the
individual,
relationship?
this is just individual, is just softly saying, you have great advantages, South Liberty School District, by inviting Park and Rec, because you have all these older people right now that are playing pickleball, and that's intergenerational, and they're voters, and they may not have kids in the school right now, but they'll vote for a facility that they're going to use. Same thing, rec league basketball, or whatever you want to use the gyms for. It's just a huge selling point. We're building a turf field and we're trying to, right? Now we can maximize use on that. Park and Rec could share it. We can share South Liberty School District can share Park and Rec facilities. So that's why I say that. We're all trying to accomplish the same thing. And I really feel like neither organization is communicating well about that.
Yeah, and my only concern would just be as I look at what gyms are available now to us and knowing, okay, they could have something that's opened up, but there's not a priority that's ever put into actual maintaining those facilities. That would be the biggest piece of it is, you have an empty space, but is it gonna be maintained in any way? Because right now, the feedback I've got is just, we will handle as basic as it is, but like janitorial will happen for the most part, like we're handling the suite, everything. Like leaks, nothing's gonna change with that.
Well, my understanding is all the gyms here anyway are still going to be used on a regular basis. That means they're going to be maintenance, they're going to be cleaned. The whole building is not, but the gym will be. So that's why I say that as well. In favor of the gym. Just to be clear. I'm pro gym.
Was there so my understanding is our goal is still to do some sort of resolution at the June meeting, is that correct, for the bond? Officially make a,
Yeah, in order to put it on the ballot, we need to do it.
Microphone,
Sorry, in order to put it
thank
on
you.
the ballot. We have Jim Nelson's timeline, so I think we should use that as the reference. And I'm pretty sure it was the June meeting is the meeting we needed to settle the bond measure language to submit to the county.
And that'll also include the proposed M&O money that it'll cost to run it, staff, when the voters get a chance to look over it.
That'll be on our website. It won't be in the bond language because it's not part of the bond measure. So the place that we can put that is on our website.
So an educational thing, like when you guys go put this bond out, tell the public. I get a lot of questions from the public. They're like, so it's too expensive to swim now. Yeah. That's part of the reason we need a pool is because it's too expensive. I kind of like, I'm thinking, well, do you think it's gonna be free to come swim at a brand new facility? Are you guys going to have like, for a family for like membership would be X amount or like some sort of information money so people, selfishly people want everything for free. It's like they think that they'll have to pay for services. So like, is there gonna be educational information about how much it is gonna cost to be a member or whatever you guys are gonna do? Because you're paying property taxes for a bond, you're paying property taxes for them now, and you're paying X amount, come swim daily, weekly, whatever. I mean, are we gonna provide like a clear snapshot of what's gonna be?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we've looked at other fee schedules, and
Sure.
Matt, feel free to speak to that if you want, but, you know, like, for example, what I'm envisioning, hoping, is they do every third grader learns to swim type program, and that turned out to be, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, I think it was $7 a student, to do that. So it's a nominal cost, it's a minimal cost to be in the pool. And that's, you know, I mean, I don't think you're gonna find a pool where somebody can just walk in and swim for free, not in the US.
You're itself would be, people think it's free.
They may, but I think there's a
Place.
reality check. I don't think they're.
Yeah,
And
that's one of the things that ARC is going to provide us, and we have from the feasibility study was this is what public pools cost to use in Oak Harbor and Port Angeles and similar communities, similar demographics to ours and public pools. And so that's the starting point. So it's not going to be any higher than that profile. And one part of that that you mentioned is that there's always the lowest rate is always for the local resident. Anybody from outside the district boundary then pays additional fees. So I know that those two things are part of it, and we will have that from the you know the not ARC directly, but from the aquatic part of the design team. So.
And to Carrie's question about the district again, that's another selling point. Because right now, if we successfully pull off the pool bond, the schools are surrounding the pool. The opportunity for engagement there is readily available. When you compare it to Anacortes and other districts where they ship kids, have to bus them to the pool, our kids can literally walk to the pool and get back to their schedule on the same day. That's a big selling point. It's just that no one's had that discussion about that. So if that helps answer that question, that's what I mean. And I'd invite others, if somebody else would like to join me and put something together to have that discussion, it's just the perfect time. And I'm hoping there's more acceptance, you know, to possibilities of mutual relationship. It was there for a long time. It's just not there now.
To piggyback on Tom's, on our website, we're hoping to have what the bond costs, what the M&O is, and then all the fees. And so a user can look at their tax value and then figure out pretty easily what the long-term cost would be, or what the total cost would be by the time they and their family will go there. That's overall perfect. Yeah, I think I've got a couple of questions too. And what I told them, yeah, we're gonna disclose everything that we can, so people will have a rough guesstimation of what they're gonna pay to actually swim.
As a voter, I need that information.
Yeah. I think that's what Tom was saying.
Well, cost recovery, like, I mean, I've heard that term quite a few different times. I mean, I know one of the people that applied down from California, Matt was saying that their cost recovery was 100%. Like, is there gonna be a rough guess of, we're gonna recover 50% of operating costs, 75%, 25%? Or is that something that's gonna be
Yeah, it's more,
disclosed?
yeah, it's much more conservative than that. Their numbers are something like 40%.
Microphone.
Sorry, their numbers are much more conservative than that. It's something like 40%, and that's using local facilities, again, Oak Harbor, Port Angeles, uh, similar facilities and similar geographies. Yeah, it's not more than 50%.
I would recommend in anything that you're putting out to educate the community in, that one of the big pieces that I see within the general public is that there's not a clear delineation in their minds that the Parks District is not the county. And it goes that way for different agencies throughout the county, but there's still a belief that this falls under the county. I'm already paying taxes to the county. Why am I going to be doing more with that as opposed to it's a separate taxing district? That piece I think would be very important.
I would agree. I've actually heard that quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
A lot,
A
yeah.
lot.
Especially anybody who's ever received a check from us. That's I don't count.
Right.
Yeah, and preliminarily, like online, I've been looking at some of the discussions through social media. Yeah, that's something that comes up, but there's never any correction of what that is. So being able to be on top of that would be good.
Yeah, just some general voter education about what we are, who we are.
Yeah.
South Classic Road.
Okay. Shall we move on to well, we have an executive director search, but I don't know that there's any action to be taken today. Is there? Other than maybe just an update?
Well, so we can talk a little bit about scheduling our next round. What I can do based on various schedules is one interview on May 1st, sometime between 8 a.m. and noon. Probably gonna be like, we'll say 9 to noon. And then May 3rd, wrapping up before 3 o'clock. From a candidate perspective, it could be any time that day.
Before 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
Wrapping up
before 3.
Have the 4 candidates, they've all been contacted since,
I have not contacted everybody, only the ones that were scheduled. So, does that look okay in general? You know what, Sky? I kind of think you were gonna be out on like.
so then the third.
So then we'll scratch that.
Be
The-
completely capacity.
that could be fun. Okay, so, okay, back to the drawing board. So one option was doing both on May 1st. I can't remember why I started to roll that out.
Because we only have a 3-hour time window. We have to be done by noon. I don't know what your time.
That was for one person, so done by noon for one.
Oh, so then maybe the other person.
Yeah, that would be
in
a
the
pretty
afternoon.
intense day. I think you would not be available, but it could be.
Correct. On Monday, I am not available past noon.
Yeah, so Matt was gonna be available. So that doesn't work. So I think I'm just gonna have to revisit it with you guys.
If it works with absolutely everybody else, to have both people on the same day, and you just need one commissioner to be available the afternoon of May 1st, I can be available.
So
I
the
know
only
you
thing
want
was
to be there.
Jennifer was hoping to be there, right?
I know you want to be there. However,
In
if,
the interest of time.
in the interest of time, if the alternative is not doing this for another week, do you know what I mean? Like,
Which we can't because I'm not available at all that fall.
okay, so, which would then push it to the middle of May, like, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
we
if-
can't just keep.
So,
That's okay, one other alternative, April 29th on a Saturday.
she can, I don't know about Matt. It's Matt and Jennifer were really
Yeah.
the two
Yeah,
critical.
that weekend, 29, 30 is 50-50. I may not be in the state that weekend. 50-50 chance. I won't know until this coming week. Or this weekend, probably.
So that was enough.
He
He doesn't know. It's 50-50 if you'll even choose the state.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be
Let's roll out.
back. I'll be back that Sunday night. I'll be back that Sunday night for 100% sure.
Last, signs. Gotta be reached there, should be right, GPU there.
I can, but Scott won't be here. Scott has a.
This is out.
No, I can do the first. I just
Can't do the afternoon.
can't do the afternoon.
So she would do the morning. And I would do the afternoon, if Matt can do the whole day.
What's it gonna take? I guess the question I'm asking is, it take that long?
We were figuring
Already,
probably between 2 and 2.5 hours, but we're going to ask the candidates to be available for 3, just to just be on the safe side. We could probably condense it down. I don't think we would want to do it any shorter than 2.5 hours, given what we discussed.
well, if you did 7 to 12 on the first.
If somebody could start, if we could start at 8 AM on the first,
10:30?
do the first one until 10:30. Do the second one starting at 11, and you get half of it. And then you leave early and leave them to it. maybe change the order of things, like Sky, you come later, do you know what I mean? Like, maybe shift the order, but, and again, 2.5 hours max.
Okay, I'm sorry, I gotta back up again, so I think it was May 1st, the other person had to be in the afternoon or evening. So starting at 11.
To the evening, how far out are you blocked out? Like, could you do 5 to 7?
Yeah.
Or even,
4:30.
so maybe do one person in the morning on May 1st? And then everybody go and get some work done, and then reconvene at 4:30 and do 4:30 to 7. It'll be a very long day, but it will all be in one day. It will be done. It's still you, and also this would ensure that the two candidates are not gonna be crossing paths, which I kind of like. I was gonna say, if it was gonna be back to that, I was gonna offer like, why don't I take somebody for coffee, or, you know what I mean, like run interference a little bit somehow.
Yeah.
But this would put some nice distance.
Okay, so let's say 9 o'clock start, then gives us a few minutes to,
8:30? Maybe, well, no, I guess you could do 9 because you're gonna take the break. Yeah, that works.
okay, so,
Yeah, yeah, that works.
okay, so 9 to 11:30, 4:30 to 7.
Does that work for you, Matt? On May 1st?
Yes, I'm just going to take a vacation day that day, so I'll make it work.
And I'm thinking we'll need to just have the office closed. Which is not great, because we'll have just started some lessons.
The only other thing that occurred to me, as I was driving away from the meeting last week was, references, checking references. Do we want to do this before, have them done before May 1st, or do them after May 1st?
I don't think we can. I don't think that's fair to the candidates.
So we need to do it before May 1st?
No.
No, we do it after May 1st, okay. And then, okay, so we'll do it after May 1st and, phone call, email. I'm more inclined where I want to talk to somebody.
Correct.
So, and that each applicant had to submit 3 references. But then also, I think we want to speak with their current.
If they gave us permission to do that.
Right, and I can go back to.
I know for one, it's not an issue, for the other, I don't know.
So, okay, so after May 1st, I'm willing to take on, one candidate.
I will as well.
Okay, so there we go. And I know I do owe questions, for this next round of interview, on May 1st, and, yeah,
You haven't seen something out yet.
I have not sent something out yet. I do have more time tomorrow and Friday to work on.
And do we want to go ahead and schedule an executive session or?
Yep.
For.
You need to.
Okay.
And it has to be that week, otherwise I'm gone the 7th to the 12th.
And so there's kind of two questions that, in this executive session, do you think that perhaps we would be just deciding?
So by the time we do the executive session, we would need to make reference calls so that if we are making
Yeah.
a decision and
You think we would
preparing
make
an
a
offer,
decision there, or at least, prepared to make an offer?
to draft an offer letter, yeah, in that executive session.
But
Yeah, we gotta pick up the pace. I'm dying over here.
No, I would, there's something that
Yeah, thanks.
I'd rather, do myself on the evening of the 4th, Thursday. But other than that, I can be available in the evening.
I am off island on Thursday for a Windermere commitment that I can't get up.
Thursday.
How about I send out a Google poll thing? Is that okay?
A wonderful thing?
It's just Thursday is the only night.
Thursday.
that is closed for me. Other than that.
Same.
But
Any
we
other-
need time after the first to make the calls.
Yeah, so Friday, another
other
Friday
night?
night meeting.
And it is Cinco de Mayo, if anybody cares. I don't, but
Right, somebody's got to bring one.
Yeah, what about just,
Flip a coin,
Yeah.
pick.
Okay, put it out there.
I mean, we need a couple days to get
May
through to people,
well, if you're fine with me not being here, you can do it May 8th.
that's
But
fine.
I will not be here and I will not be available. I will not call
So
Okay.
4 is out, 5 is Cinco, 3 is too soon. I mean, I don't mind making
Yeah.
those calls on the 2nd and between the 1st and 2nd, that's
Okay.
our goal. If Chris could do
Yes,
the
I
same.
can do that.
What about
we
the
can-
3rd?
I can do the 3rd. I could do
Okay.
the 3rd.
Okay,
But
Sky
you
won't
have
be
to-
there.
I can try to see if I can do it on the 10th. Just do it at the next board meeting.
I don't think we can do an offer.
Let me see there.
I don't think we can. Right. I mean, at our regular board meeting, go into an executive session and say, at a regular board meeting.
We could do it before, right? Or after.
That makes, so we want.
Closed session.
Yeah, like space.
Yeah, you have to be.
So it's looking like it's either Friday the 5th or Wednesday the 17th.
Unless we wanted to do
Or
Monday the 15th or
Oh.
Tuesday the
we
16th.
could do that Monday the 15th, Tuesday the 16th. We could do that. I'm good on any of those dates. Conflicts, anybody? Conflicts, preferences?
So for that executive session on that Monday or Tuesday, I wouldn't be available till 6.
Okay, so I guess I need to know this. So if we go into executive session, are we picturing the timeline here? You make an offer, we approve someone at a board meeting at some point. And is that, we officially make the offer to the person after the board has approved that selection? Or are they, I'm not clear on that process.
I'm
When
not
I looked
either.
back at the minutes last time, it wasn't.
Yeah, but it seems like the
It was all
executive session, we're now talking about our reference calls, we're talking about the interview process, and we're singling it down to one. And then at the board meeting, we're making a recommendation to hire this person.
Okay.
That-
But we're
that's-
still not
Then
naming
make it
them
offer.
We're not-
correctly.
yeah.
We're not naming them to the public, but we are going forward, and then we need the offer letter, so we also need to talk about salary.
Which would be an executive session, and we can do that in executive session before I clarify.
Yeah,
And then we make the offer. I don't think we can announce it in a public meeting until it's been accepted.
but I think if we select someone, I think that has to be done in.
A public meeting?
I don't.
So, okay, but we have time between now and
Yeah.
then
Okay.
to confirm those details. That particular detail, like how do we do that, right?
I mean, yeah, we can nail it down, but it feels to me like we just follow what we've been doing, where in executive session, we say this is what we want, and then we empower whomever is going to
Do anything.
make that offer to the selected candidate.
And if we do have to, if we have to name somebody, which I highly,
Can't imagine. We have the document. We just need to look at that
Then-
document.
again, we come out of executive session to go forward, so we would do
The
it then.
report that you're proposing, that this be the executive director. I'm gonna say that after that
Right.
session.
And hopefully we can, make an announcement at that May board meeting. But if we can't, then wait till the next. So,
It just seems like if we wait for executive session till the 15 or 16, that's a long time. After we've had interviews and done reference checks. So my suggestion would be, as much as I hate to say it, that the 5th or whatever, to get it done during that week. Because things are still fresh in your head. You don't want to come back 2 weeks later.
yeah, that was kind of brutal, but from a process point of view, it also worked.
I'm willing to give up my Cinco.
I will make guacamole if that's a good.
And I do like Cinco.
Okay, so I think, okay, make that as early as we can do it. What time can you guys get here? Just,
I'm gonna be on the water,
I can do any time after 3.
Yeah, me too.
Earlier would be better if possible.
I'll be off work. I don't know if I'll be here or not. Probably remote at best.
Yeah, your work is just starting.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I absolutely have to be here, then, I could get somebody else to lead that. I could be here probably by, I'm gonna say 3. Matt?
So you lost me on the dates. Is this for the 5th?
So, we're thinking that to do it as close to the interviews and checking the references. So we're kind of settling on Friday the 5th. What would be the earliest time that you could, join us?
Give me 1 second. Friday the 5th currently looks like 11 a.m. and the rest of the day is clear.
I'm sorry, Matt, one more time, a little louder.
Sorry, 11 a.m. or later.
Oh,
so 3 PM would work for you?
Well, does 3 on the dot work for you, Eric? or
It
you
does,
three?
I can be here by 3.
Okay.
okay, all right.
Okay, May 5th at 3 PM, executive session.
Okay.
I'll just write down 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. On Friday.
All right.
We're gonna get
Okay,
it.
we'll make that work.
All right,
Okay.
moving on. CPA revised services agreement.
I think we can do this fairly quickly. It's already here. It's already been planned on. We discussed it in the past of expanding the services with our CPA to include the annual report. And, I do feel like there may still be more to be done as I'm learning more about the process. So there may be more expenses down the road, is what I'm saying for the CPA, but this will get us through this time period. So, somebody just wants to make a motion to approve the, updated service agreement with TDJ and CPA.
So I will make a motion to approve the updated agreement with Teresa D. Johnson, CPA Incorporated, to include in her services our full annual financial statement for,
Hang on.
You could abbreviate it just by saying the updated engagement letter and the amount, which is.
the updated engagement letter and the amount which will not exceed $14,365. This page. Page number 5.
All right, give it to me one more time, please.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the amended agreement with Teresa D. Johnson, CPA Incorporated, which will not exceed $14,365.
I'll second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to amend the agreement with Teresa D. Johnson, TDJCPA Incorporated. Which will not exceed $14,065. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, aye.
Jake, aye.
Matt, I.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Okay, moving on to new business. Comprehensive plan update. The plan was to review one section at each coming regular board meeting, and we were to be prepared to review section 1, mission and guiding principles. Did every commissioner have an opportunity to do that?
Yes.
Matt?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the overarching guidance for the whole plan. So we thought this is a good starting point. As long as we are in sync with these, or we see updates needed for these will guide what we do in the subsequent sections. So that's the framework for this discussion.
It doesn't seem like there are any changes that need to be made in section 1 that would have anything to do with the Southwood Aquatics Recreation Center or the campground. This is just overarching.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Again, these are guiding mission and guiding principles, so it's shouldn't be specific to anything, but it should guide what we do in the subsequent sections where we get into the detail. So do we think any of these principles are no longer correct?
Microphone, please, Matt.
Sorry, so do we think that any of these principles are no longer correct or need to be updated?
The only thing in looking at number 3 that's floating through my head is it talks about around community park and sports complex between Max Walton and Langley, which doesn't encompass Trustland. Is that a concern for anyone?
It is, knowing that we recently were approached about Freeland Hall, for example. I mean, it didn't come to pass, but if an opportunity like that were to be offered to us, that does not fall in that geography, I think we want to be open to it.
That, yeah, Freeland's in the taxing district. That's his question.
I think the second part of that encompasses all the lakes. Sharing, yeah.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be covered with other community organizations being additional?
Yep.
Okay.
That's why I read it.
Yeah.
Right, but I think, Jen, your point is a good one. And when we were
Microphone, please, Matt.
sorry, I think your point is a good one here, because at this time, we had not fully incorporated those other properties. So I think we could extend that first sentence, just an idea. Say, we developed the central core of the park system and provide additional park properties, across the district.
I mean, number 4 kind of says that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the right answer, Krista. Maybe we take 4 and make it the second sentence in number 3. And then we take the second sentence in number 3 and make that 4.
Actually, I think that's an excellent suggestion.
Because I think all 3 apply, but I think putting them in that sequence makes it's more the priority that we've.
All right, so we're going to take the sentence of number 4 and make it the second sentence in number 3. Take the second sentence of number 3 and make it a standalone 4.
Yep.
So that it reads, item 3, develop the central core of the park system around community park sports complex sites between Maxwell and Langley roads. We consider acquiring and maintaining park assets within the district boundaries as the budget allows and broad public supports. And then item 4, beyond this core, this parks core, we partner, etc.
All right, I would entertain a motion.
Well, I don't think in this process we need to move
We don't need
anything
to.
along the way. I think we'll make the motions will be adopting the plan at the end of this. I think at
Okay.
this phase it's kind of editing, yeah.
Okay, so then Carrie, you'll just keep a running list of the changes that we're making along the way, and then when we get to the end, we'll do it all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. This plan's got 80 pages in it, something like that. I think that's.
Well, and we're gonna lean on you, Matt, because you're the only person at the table who has been through this process, commissioner wise.
Right, and we'll sequence it the way the state sequences it. So the next thing that we're going to review, or one of the priority things we're going to review, is the level of service determination. So that's the thing we'll probably present in May, maybe June, but probably May. So the next thing that we'll think about is that, because that's the other kind of guiding principle. It's the state's guidance to us. So.
Which would be that other So in our packets was the comp plan, and then there was also the planning guidelines from the RCO. So we should review both of these. Okay, all right, thank you, Matt.
Yep.
All right, are we comfortable in moving on? Okay. Second item on new business is Trustland Trails signage and maps.
Okay, so the Parks and Aquatics Foundation reached out a while ago regarding funds that they had been holding on to, for maybe a couple of years now, I'm not that sure, but anyways, for wayfinding signage, posts and maps at Trustland Trails. There was a donation by a community member, $2,000, which was matched with $2,000 from Microsoft, so a total of $4,000. And, Tom recently spent a little bit of money just to get some quick signage out there for, pointing to the exit, because there was community input, but there was not enough information out there for getting back to the parking lot, basically. So we need to get that started. Wasn't sure if there might be someone that wanted to spearhead the effort to get the signage. We also had discussed possibility of maybe actually just hiring, I don't know, probably outside the $4,000, but hiring someone to actually officially make maps of our parks. That, we've done things, we've melded old maps, added slapped lines on top of them, but it might be worth it to get someone more professional to create some maps for our parks.
Maps for the whole park or just Trustland Trails?
That one, and definitely that one, but the whole system.
So if you
That
go
is
to,
ours. Yeah, the new one.
so if you go to All Trails right now and you pull it up, you see Trust and Trails.
No.
Yeah. How do you do that?
I did talk to the person who donated, and he was okay with, if there was money left over, doing whatever we wanted with it. Really, if we wanted it to go towards scholarships, and I mentioned the possibility of a map maker, and he was totally on board with what we needed to do with it, doing what we wanted to do with it.
Was his vision like a box or receptacle or something you could stop by and get one? Is that?
A map.
Yeah. Is that-
Mostly it was signs that he was originally interested in, I believe, and then maps that someone could, take a map with them. I mean, just a printout is fine.
Well, it'd be nice
Yes.
to do something like we do here, like we've got kiosks that have an overview. Then we could have copies of that, like we do here, but it's also directional, named, like, here, that was his idea.
And we talked about the posts with,
Yeah, like 6x6 post, like,
Oh, yeah.
with the names, and I ordered like 6 or 8 parking lot arrow to steer behind me.
So we also need a little bit of a plan,
yes,
really, like a list of something.
Yeah, here's the names, actually happened on that.
Didn't we also talk about that we wanted the posts and the little placards on it to be like,
Separate,
they are
yes.
here, so that there's,
Size wise,
At intersections?
yes,
Trust me.
Yeah.
yes.
and like
Gotta be
the
so nice.
clarity that it's Parks and Rec.
So I told Carrie, I can build a really, really nice trail. Comes to the mapping and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I got other stuff to do.
So I don't think we need printed ones available, but yeah, if there's a picture available there with a QR code that perhaps then takes them to our website, where on there we have a downloadable PDF
Like they do a Trillium.
that they can, if they're home, they can print it out and take it with them, or again, they've got the QR code that takes them to it. So building in a little bit of redundancy, but getting them back to our website.
And self-service at Trustland is sufficient.
Yeah, because
I like that.
again, All Trails has an excellent version of it, so it's getting this out to people who who don't use this tool right now.
We could post it on a brand new kiosk, visit Vulture.
Yeah, I don't think we need
Doesn't have
big
anyway.
handouts. That's just something to,
No, but again, having a PDF available on the website for people to print out,
Yeah.
just, I do that for thoughts, so, yeah.
paper handouts and they gotta always refill them and they're just a pain.
All right, so,
I just know that it needs to happen sooner than later and our bandwidth is maxed out.
Yeah, I actually.
so someone like to volunteer with a post hole digger and,
No,
No,
No.
To make a plan.
we'll install everything. It's getting map updated, getting it looking like what we've done here potentially. And maybe some of these spearhead going through each intersection and this is the name of this one. And
This is what it should say here.
Coming up with a full list, sign number 1 goes here, should be this size, says this. Number 2 goes here, says,
yeah.
a spreadsheet so that we then know what to order and what
I can do
sizes.
that.
Is anyone involved with
And
scouts?
then-
Maybe a couple of good Eagle Scout projects.
Yeah, that'd be a great scout.
Yeah,
Great.
the foundation
So
said.
to have them.
Yeah. Nothing to do. Like,
We used to,
Unless you really want to do it.
No, I don't, but in the interest of getting it done.
That will probably be faster for you doing it.
we used to have Eagle Scouts do it, but it's now just kind of maps.
Well, what are we talking about? I'm talking about, I would go out and say, this is where a 4x4 goes, and this is this trail, and that's that trail, and getting into, I'm not making a map.
Not taking a GPS.
I can update our map in the time being. I just need to sit at his desk and find it. I can find it in the files, so.
It's a great scout.
Yeah, anybody knows anybody in the scouts? I don't. They used to come to us all the time with projects, but
Yeah, I don't know anybody. Hey, we could go out to that.
You need a line.
So, okay, so Jennifer, do you think you're gonna go ahead and do the sign parts as far as make a list, or are we, and they can do the maps?
Or do you want to reach out to Troop 57?
I don't have children.
Oh.
When you're sitting next there.
We're just gonna go.
No, I'm just very clear. God, knew what he was doing when he said no.
Yeah, I think to Tom's point, I think we need to make it look like our park trails at Community Park in terms of signage and format, size, layout.
Oh, consistency with that.
Yeah, I think that's important. So that to me is one where, True 57 is not going to know that as well as we will just walking around. So, I mean, if Jen, you want to partner up on this and we can walk around and make a list
I mean,
someday.
other than a scout or one of us, it'd be great to have maybe one of the neighbors there.
Anyone?
Anybody online there?
Yeah, I mean, again, to me, I think the most important thing is consistency. So I would volunteer myself, and Jan, it sounds like you were volunteering maybe partly.
Yeah, it's just a matter of going for a walk and marking up a
Big list,
making a list,
spreadsheet, and
checking it twice. So, do we know where to order those little plaques from?
the place that I've been working with is Humphrey Signs up in Oak Harbor. So I can, if we get a list, I can say we need X amount, this size. And in then I can get a price.
If you've worked with them in the past, they should have our design files, right? Our colors
I don't
and
think they've done.
the sizes of the signs. We want them consistent. So-
Yeah, I mean, I can get them all that stuff. The little placards that we have out here, it's nothing. It's a name. I don't have any of our, any of that stuff. Those are simple. It's taking our, yeah, whatever we're gonna put on a kiosk, similar to what we did here. And they got all that. We have to price it, figure out how many trailhead type signs we want, how many small cross sections, arrows and whatever.
And I assume you will divide the posts.
Look, but that's no big deal. Just by 12 foot, 7.5. Here we go.
When are you home, Matt?
I get home tomorrow night. So this weekend
Okay.
might work if you're around.
Yes, sir. I am around.
Okay, I'll bounce. It might be Sunday if that works for you. I'm not 100% sure.
Totally.
Exact.
Yeah, no, I'm flexible.
Okay, I'll bounce you a text and let you know what the
Okay.
All right, I think we did.
Why should you be the lucky one?
Come back higher.
All right, bye.
Bye, Tom.
Thank you. Okay, and any further discussion?
Nope.
All right, at that, we are adjourned at 8:33.
Excellent.
It was under 3 hours, right on.
Another half hour.